All right, we'll get started in just a second. Just kind of letting some people join. So if you couldn't hear me, that was by design, but now hopefully you can. All right, I think we're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Just a quick note, we are recording this session for later access. So just to be aware that we are recording right now. Again, welcome. We're very glad you're here. You're here for LMS 101 Part 1 Google Classroom. In case you thought you were somewhere else, that is where you are. I'm Catherine Leivick. I'm from ESD 112 in Vancouver, Washington. And my co-presenter is Jeff Crawford from, excuse me, from ESD 101. And we have a few other contributors here that we'll be introducing to you shortly. Before we go any further, we would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of First Peoples, past and present. We recognize that no matter where each of us is located in this moment, we're on the traditional homelands of Washington tribal nations. We honor with gratitude the land itself and call to action to practice sustainable seventh generation thinking in caring for the land and the people. And as we think about this, we want to offer some questions. You are not supposed to be able to necessarily answer these right now, but these are questions that we ask people to kind of take a few seconds to think about at the beginning of a session like this. Think about where you currently live, and can you answer the questions related to this, the tribe that would be nearest to you? So thank you for taking a moment to think about that. So Jeff.
Yes, I'm Jeff Crawford. I'm at ESD 101, and I wanted to let you know that today we have a host of individuals across the state who are bringing together background information for you. Some of us are going to be hidden on video doing some chat, answering questions, and at the end of today's presentation, providing you with a link to this presentation with all of the web links that you can use. So thank you. Many of us are here. I'm from ESD 101. Catherine's from ESD 112, and we have the others on the background today too.
Thank you, Jeff. So I'm going to go over our objectives for this series. And when we look at this, this is for the whole series. We're not going to cover every single one of these bullet points in depth today. What we're going to do today is give you kind of the crash course of how do I get to Google Classroom and what do I do when I'm there, just the very basics. So you're going to get an initial understanding of how you can begin using it. You're going to start to get ideas for how you can organize your classes, your materials, all the stuff that you do as an instructor. Going to start looking at some resources to help you plan for how you're going to use this LMS. And you are going to hopefully understand the best practices that kind of underpin our learning, no matter whether we're using remote learning or whether we're in person, whatever stage of continuous learning we're in. We're hoping that the tools we're helping you learn will be useful in all of those settings. So like I said, today, we're just going to walk you through accessing the Google Classroom environment and navigating around so you know where things are. So that's the main thing that we're going to accomplish today. We're going to start with a little question for you here in just a second. We're going to frame the tool information that we're giving you in some pedagogical ideas, and then we'll dive in, give you the tour, and give you some next steps to go on to. And Andrew, would you like to jump in for this?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we are going to have you take a poll everywhere poll, and I'm going to have you reply using poll everywhere. And what we're looking for is what 3 words describe your ideal remote learning classroom? Now, to do this, we have added a link in the chat to the poll, and we're hoping that you can click the link and type in 3 words that describe your ideal remote learning classroom. So if you could once again click the link that was shared in the chat and type in 3 words that describe your ideal remote learning classroom. Now, right now, we're already seeing attendance and collaborative, intuitive, and we're going to keep watching as the words continue to fill the screen. Okay, look at all these words that are appearing. So 3 ideal remote learning classroom words. You'll notice the biggest 2 words so far, the more words that come in will be bigger. So the biggest words so far are collaborative and engaging. I'm appreciating organized, friendly, rigorous. Students is a big word, but that engaging word is just really coming out. Okay, we'll give 1 more minute. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, so for you as participants, the 3 words that describe your ideal remote learning classroom, if I'm looking at the 3 biggest, are collaborative, engaging, and interactive. Fun and interactive seem to be very similar in size, but overall, those are our 3 ideal remote learning classroom words. And now with that, I'm going to hand it to Jeff, who is going to do the next piece and talk about how to frame this using collaborative, engagement, interactive, fun. Jeff?
Thank you, Andrew, for that. As we're thinking about learning how to use Google Classrooms for our students and we start building things, today we're going to get into a lot of the nuts and bolts. And over the next 3 days, today included, we're going to see how to start building our classrooms. It's very important for us to frame our thinking to support all of our students. So as we're thinking about supporting all of our students, let's take a moment and think about some guidelines to help us ensure that we're collaborating, we're engaging, that it's organized, safe, effective, all the things that you were saying that's your vision for what your ideal classroom would look like. So when planning for instruction in any setting, we recommend you consider the following. Make sure that you're thinking about your instructional frameworks that are particular to your school or your district. Also be mindful of the universal design for learning. That is, guidelines for engaging each learner in the various networks of their brain. And also remember that we have social emotional needs as learners. Be mindful also, and finally, about engaging in culturally responsive teaching practices so that we can build these ideal classrooms. And remember that at the end of today's session, you're going to get a link to all of the slides so that you can click on these links that you see on the screen now, and you can go ahead and investigate further at your own leisure. We also want to take a moment and be mindful that, especially where we are today, we must keep equity at the center of our work, guiding us as we're reimagining what school looks like. And for a reminder, OSPI, they gave us guidelines, and they have a great opportunity at the center of their focus. It's a little difficult sometimes to think about that as an opportunity, but we really do have a wonderful opportunity to make incredible changes in order that we could better serve our students and our community. And OSPI's guidance that they provided, by the way, in their values, aligns strongly at their heart with the message that we have in our equity statement across all ESDs. Across the state, we've decided that we will hold true at the core of all of our work that each student, each family, every community would possess their strengths and cultural knowledge that benefits their peers, educators, and schools. And we're going to use that to guide our work.
All righty. I will jump back in again. This is Catherine. And we're going to get started with diving into our LMS. So we're going to learn how to access, we're going to do a little tour, and you're going to learn the very basics of creating a classroom and joining a classroom. I'm going to be switching my share over so you can see what it looks like to sign in. You're going to see how we get started. I want to always give the caveat that your district's policies are to be followed at all times. Your guidelines, things might look mildly different for you depending on how your district has things set up. But the basics of how this will look will be pretty consistent. So I'm going to switch over and let you see a little different side of Google Classroom here. So I'm hoping that many of you have already signed in to Google at some point, but we know that some people have not. And so I wanted to show you from the very beginning. I have my person here who needs to sign into Google, and I just went to google.com and clicked the sign in button. And this is the person I'm trying to sign in with. So I'm going to put her password in. Sure hope I can do that right. That's always the first step. All right. So now I know that I am signed in to my Google account because I have my initial up here in the little circle. You might have your picture depending on how your district has things set up, but usually you'll see a first initial there. Now I'm on the main Google page, and I can access a lot of different Google apps from here. And you might have experience with Google Docs or Sheets or Slides, but we're going to access Classroom today. And we're going to use this app launcher right here. I think that's the official name. I like to call it the waffle because I like food. Some people call it the Rubik's Cube because that's what it looks like to them. But that's one way to get to your apps in the Google environment. If I click on that, and then I can go find Classroom, and these icons may be in a different order for you, and that's okay. They're actually can be moved around. So if you open yours up and Classroom isn't right there on that second row, don't panic. It might be down farther. But that's one way to get to Google Classroom. And once I'm there, you'll see up in the Omnibar here, where my URL is, that it just says classroom.google.com. And another way I can get there is by opening my browser. Once I'm signed into Chrome, I can just type in classroom classroom.google.com. So now that I'm here for the first time, and some of you may already be past this, so bear with us for a sec. Now that I'm in here for the very first time, it's going to say, hey, do you want to join Classroom with this account? And I have some choices here if I've ever used Google before. I need to make sure that I pick the right one. It needs to be my work account. So if for some reason you look here and you see a Gmail address, that's probably not the one that you want to sign in with. Because we're trying to get this set up for school purposes. So I'm looking, making sure this is my work account, and I'm clicking continue. And now I have a very important crossroads. I have a question to answer. Am I a student or am I a teacher? Now, I know we all wake up some mornings and wish we weren't a teacher. Most mornings we're really happy about it, but everybody has a day. Today is not the day to have that crisis. You are a teacher. And the reason you have to tell it, whether you're a student or a teacher, is because it gives you different options in the classroom once you're in. So you're going to tell it that you're a teacher. And if you don't tell it that you're a teacher, you're going to have to contact IT to fix that for you. So keep that in mind. I'm going to be a teacher.
So, Catherine,
Yes.
I want to make sure I heard this right. When I log in with my teacher account on Google, when I first go to Google Classroom, I want to make sure I select teacher, because that's going to be like for a long time, I'm in the teacher role in Google Classroom that's tied to my Google account. Otherwise, I'll have to get some tech help or something to fix that. Am I hearing you right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And just so you know, if you join as a teacher, you can still join other classes. And we're going to go
Awesome.
through that. It does not preclude you from enrolling in a class. It just gives you the power to create a class as well. And so now that I'm signed in as a teacher to my Google Classroom, I have this kind of home space. And it's not very exciting yet because I don't have any classes started. But this is home, and the home button that I'm about to show you will always get you here. All your classes will show up as little kind of cards in this space. So the main thing we want to look at here is this left sidebar menu. If I hover my cursor over it, it says main menu. And if I click that 3 lines, it's going to give me all of my menu access here. There's my home. If I click home, that's going to take me back to my home base where it says classes. As I create classes, they're going to populate in here, and they will show up as classes I have created or classes in which I am enrolled. And you'll see that as we create some things. There's going to be a to-do list for each of the classes that we are teaching, which will remind us what we still need to grade. And we'll have a calendar view that will show the due dates of assignments that we have assigned to our students. There's also a space for our archived classes, which are classes that aren't in current use. They don't have to be trashed or thrown away yet. We just put them in the archive so they're not cluttering up our current workspace. So if you have a past semester or past years of classes, you can archive them and put them there. And your settings here are also very important. And I just want to show you really quickly why they're important. One of the things that you need to do when you set up Classroom is set up your notifications. And do you want email about the things that are happening in Classroom? This is a choice that you're going to need to make. And what you're going to do is see more options here as you add classes into your environment. You need to know where this is, because if you don't, you might get a little bit more email than you are comfortable with. So I'm going back to my home space here, and we're going to talk about creating a course. So it gives me a little hint right here, create or join your first class. And I'm just going to click this plus button. Now I know I'm a teacher because it says I can either join a class or create a class. If I only see join here, then I have a problem and I need to tell tech support or IT that I am a teacher and would they please let me be a teacher, and they can fix that for me. But as I am a teacher, I'm going to click create class, and I have to put in a name for my class. I'm just going to call mine welcome. I can give it a section, a subject, a room. All of that is optional. You have a lot of options in Google Classroom. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot, and I think my colleagues here probably have heard this same question as well, when we're training people on Google Classroom, is how should I set up my Google Classroom? How many classrooms should I have? Should I have one for each subject? Should I have one for each class period? And I cannot answer that question for you because that's very individual. But just know that you can be flexible with that and choose how you want to set it up. So I'm just going to call mine welcome. I'm going to hit create. And it's going to take a second here.
Catherine, while that opens up, I love that you're noting that we can set up our classrooms that might be even different than what we might have experienced in our face-to-face, like period 1, period 2, for example, or Mr. Hickman's room and Miss Livick's room. We might be able to join together and do things a little creatively and maybe differently than we've done in the past. I'm hearing that, and I'm also mindful that in Google, there's a lot of copying that you can do. So if you're developing things, you're going to see that you can copy things from one course to another course. So if for some reason you wanted to join courses or have them separate, you have a lot of flexibility within Google.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we'll touch on a few more of those options later today and in the next couple of days of this series as well. But for now, I have created a class. It's giving me some little tips here, and it's kind of off the screen there, but it wants to remind me that I can invite students using the class code. It'll pop up these little helpful reminders here and there. I'll try to guide you through, but if you see those, hopefully they're giving you some good information. And if not, we'll just guide you through. It's created a theme for my classroom. So this is what it looks like. If I don't like this, I can click select theme and I can be a little bit more creative here. I can go, oh, I'm going to teach science. So I want the purple lab bubbly things. Clearly, I'm not a science teacher. I have been a science teacher, actually, but it was a long time ago. And so it changes the theme, changes the colors. It'll make it all look pretty and connect with that. And if you would like to do something more personalized, you can also upload a photo of your classroom, your class, your school mascot, your whatever works for your situation. So you can customize that quite a bit.
Miss Catherine?
Go ahead.
I'm wondering, because my brain is thinking about science, because you picked the science theme and that this would be a science class. Is it possible, though, for example, that I could have a few colleagues, for example, L'Oreal, who's doing our ASL interpretation right now, could I have maybe a multiple content course? Could we like join together and maybe reinvent so all of us could be in one class? Or does it have to be only science and only whatever?
You can organize it however you like. You can, and a lot of times this depends on what grade band folks are teaching in. When I teach elementary teachers to use this tool, they very often will have one classroom for all their assignments because that's kind of how their day functions. They go in a classroom with the kids and they teach them all the stuff all day, except for maybe their specials. Secondary teachers tend to prefer to have one per class period. But you could set it up either way. You could do cross-content collaboration. And we'll talk here in just a second about the class settings. And you can also add co-teachers to contribute to your class.
Oh, that's awesome. So we have a lot of flexibility about how we set up these courses or classes to really reimagine how we're going to support students best.
Absolutely. So just getting kind of the basic lay of the land here. Here's my header that reminds me, I like to color code things. I would not use the same color coding or the same theme for each of mine because I want to get into my home and go, oh, it's the purple class. That's the one I need. Everybody's mileage will vary there, but for me, they would all look a little different. So I would immediately know what I was dealing with. I have 4 tabs across the top. I'm in the stream right now. We have classwork, people, and grades, and we'll go through all of these. We have an upcoming segment, and here's the body of my stream down here. And it's even given me a little clue. It says share something with your class. If I click there, that's what I'm going to do. It's reminding me that I can use this space to create and schedule announcements to respond to student posts. And we'll go into that a bit more too. But the first thing that I want to direct you to is this little sprocket gear up here. This is our settings for this class. And if I click that, I have some options. So I could go in and edit. If I wanted to add more description to my class, I could do that here. If I scroll down a little bit, I have my invite code section. And this is one of the main questions that people ask, and we'll come back to this a little bit later. How do I get students into my classroom? Now, some of you may have districts where they have already set up classrooms for you and added students, and so you don't need to worry about this, but a lot of people are going to need to add their own, and you have a couple of different options for doing that. Those can be managed here. And when you invite students, you can either copy this link that is right here, and you can send that to your students via email, however would work for you. Keeping in mind that we know a lot of younger students don't use email or check email at all. So keep in mind the workflow and what your students already know how to do. For my personal experience, the easiest way to get students into a classroom, and we've successfully done this, I believe, down to 2nd grade with no problems, is to give them the class code. Help them navigate to classroom.google.com, because it's going to look very similar to what you saw when I very first logged in. They're going to click the plus, they're going to join, and then they're going to type in this code. And I can even put this up big here. If I'm doing Zoom, I can make it really big so people can see it. And then they can join my classroom using that code. Now, just in case anyone is trying to join my classroom right now, you probably can't, because you're not in my domain or in my district. It's not always possible to join across districts, although sometimes it is. So when we are inviting students, we can manage all of that from here. For some reason, if you get really popular and somebody gets hold of your class code and you start getting people joining your class that you don't want to join your class, you can turn it off. If this is making something that looks like a word that is making your students giggle or something, you can reset it. That doesn't happen very often, but you never know. So you have a little bit of control there. And as I'm scrolling down through the options here, the first option I have is stream settings. So that tab I was in, we're going to go back to it, is the stream, and that's where we communicate with our students. This is one of the most important settings in here, in my opinion. Students can post and comment, and if I click on this, I'll see my other options. Students can only comment, or only teachers can post or comment. Now, I don't know about everyone else, but I taught middle school for 15 years. And I am not inclined to let my students post whatever they want on the classroom wall, because this stream functions actually quite a bit like your Facebook page in some ways, where it's a chronological list of just things that people have posted. So if I'm the only one who can post here, I can say, hey, don't forget your permission slip, you know, assuming we're using this for in-person instruction. I can say, tomorrow we're going to review for the quiz. I can say anything that isn't an assignment that I just want to communicate to them. If I leave them the ability to comment, they can ask me public questions about that. So I might give them that level of trust, or I might just decide, yeah, I don't think so. I think this would be better for just me. So that's one of the settings you really want to hit immediately. Knowing your students, knowing your grade level and what you're going to experience, it's a very good idea to figure that one out as soon as you can. There's a little bit of an option here for what you want the classwork in the stream to look like. You can decide whether deleted items will show up or not for your students. And now this is kind of a newer feature. If you have used Google Classroom in the past and you're just kind of getting back into it, they now support the use of Google Meet, which is the video conferencing tool that is built into Google. If your district is using Zoom, then you may not have to get involved in this. Some districts are choosing to use Meet instead. And as I said before, please follow the guidelines of your district. But if you are going to use Meet, you can click this button to generate a link for Meet. One thing to think about is whether you want that to be visible to students or not. I'm going to show you what that looks like. It'll generate a Meet link, and it automatically defaults to visible, which means, whoops, I have to save before I go out of here. Geez, Catherine, that's important. This will always show up, and my students will be able to see it here in the top profile picture of my class. So going back in to those settings, I can also turn it off. I still have a Meet link that is for my classroom. So that starts up a meeting, video conference live with my students. But if I turn off the visible to students thing, it solves a little problem that we all ran into when Meet started being incorporated into the classroom. And the problem was that students were starting up video conferences in Meet for their classroom and not letting the teacher in. And you can probably let your mind take you to why that's not a
Can't
great
imagine students
situation.
who do that.
I know, weird, right? Especially if you have, like I said, taught middle school for a long time. So if you leave that off, it kind of allows you as the teacher to have more control over that room when that room is open and when students can enter it. So it's kind of like, do I leave my classroom door open when I go to lunch and the kids can wander in and out, or do I lock it? So just something to think about there. We have some other options here for grading. Right now, I haven't chosen a grading system. It'll give me a little help if I ask here about what that would be like. Do I want my grade to be based on total points or category weighted? And then I can define my categories here. This is a very individualized piece of this tool because this gradebook is pretty simple. How it integrates with your student information system, whether that's Skyward or PowerSchool or whatever, is going to be dependent on how your district has it set up. And again, I would ask you to please follow your district's directions on how that would work.
So, Catherine, make sure I heard that correctly. This is like my grade book that I would, in the past, have my whatever version I want. So if I'm doing my hand version and I can still picture the first grade books that I had, and a friend gave me a copy, I'm like, this is golden, because it had all the nice green columns and everything. That's like what Google's doing for us, is keeping the record of the grades. But this isn't the official grade. That's what I'm hearing. There's something like, if it's Skyward or PowerSchool or whatever our district system is, that this may or may not tie in, but I better talk to my tech crew about that. But this is my personal document to keep record of grades. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
any assignments that you put into this system, you will have the opportunity to keep grades and keep track of whether they're turned in or not in this system. But unless it is your district has specifically connected it out, it's a closed system. So you want to make sure that you understand. For me, I think of it like back in the day, which really wasn't that long ago, when I had a paper gradebook and I would enter the scores in there, and then I would go into Skyward and transfer them in myself. That's, I
Gotcha.
just kind of think of this in that way personally. So I'm going to go out of my class settings now and back into my main classroom area. And like I said, we're in the stream. Look, I already had a student post here, and it's a positive comment, so I don't think I'm going to have to delete it or anything, but I do have the choice to do that. If Jeff had said something naughty, I could delete it. If Jeff is always naughty and just continually spamming my stream with stuff that is not relevant to class, I could mute him and still allow my other students the possibility to comment. So those three dots are always really important. And if you're new to the Google world, I want you to kind of see these generalities that are forming. 3 lines is usually a menu of options. The sprocket, the bike gear thing, is usually your settings. And the 3 dots is other options for just a specific item. So you'll see those in a lot of places, and they're very tiny, but they're very important. So make sure you pay attention. So here in my stream, if I want to share something, I can do that here. And it's reminding me right now that I can post something or save it and finish it later, excuse me, or schedule it for future use. And I can decide who I'm sending it to. I can even add an attachment here. Once I add something to the stream, it's going to show up pretty quickly. I'm going to move over to the classwork tab. And this is where we get into adding materials. And there is a lot of fun to be had here, but we're not going to have that fun today. This is for tomorrow. So I will just give you the brief overview. And this is the space where I can create an assignment. So if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of how do I give a kid an assignment, this is where you do it. And I just click the create button. It gives me some options and I go from there. But like I said, we'll be going more deeply into that tomorrow. It gives me the little summary of what I can do here since I haven't posted anything. So that'll still be here for us when we come back to it. Our People tab is going to give us our roster of students and any teachers or co-teachers that are involved in the class. So here's Jeff, my one student in this class.
Your best student.
He is my top student, my #1 student. And I can select him with a checkbox. And if I had a lot of students here, I could select multiple, and then I could email those students, remove them or mute them using that menu.
So Catherine, if I notice also I'm currently your worst student in the class or most obnoxious student in the class, what would that mean if you muted me?
Just like on the stream, it just means that you wouldn't be able to post things that the whole class could see.
So that's kind of like the whole class. I can't be obnoxious to the whole class. You've muted me. It's kind of like I'm getting a little timeout.
But you can still be obnoxious to me because I'm the teacher and I just can't avoid that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it wouldn't preclude you from communicating with me. I could also sort my students in a couple of different ways here if I had more than one. And then again, I have my 3 dots that give me a specific option just for Jeff. If I want to add students, I can also do that from here. And this will give me the opportunity to type an email address for a student that's in my domain. Again, remember to think about whether your students actually check email. If you have 2nd graders, they might not. So maybe this isn't the way you invite them, but just to know that that is there. If I want to invite co-teachers, I can do that here as well. And I would type the name of a person who is a teacher in my domain. Now, let's say I want Jeff to be my co-teacher, but he came in and clicked the student button. If he's a student, I'm not going to be able to add him as a co-teacher in this. They have to be approved.
Catherine, you're meaning like originally earlier when I first set up Google Classroom, if I had chosen the student icon versus the teacher icon at the beginning, then my Google account is a student type of Google Classroom account. I wouldn't be able to co-teach with you. That's what I'm hearing?
That should be how it works.
Okay, so if I'm an educator, I'm gonna talk to my friends and colleagues to make sure we all do teacher icon when we first set up our Google Classroom so that we can co-teach. I got it.
Yeah, and there are lots of reasons you might want to include a co-teacher in your classroom. You might have a colleague that you co-teach with and co-plan with. You might have a mentor who would like to see how you're handling things in your virtual space, or an observer, even an administrator, if you choose to let them into your world in that way, or if they request that.
So this is like, you're saying like learning walks, or when we would be collaborating and want to see what's happening in another classroom, you could add me as a teacher and I could do effectively like a learning walk with you in your classroom to see what's happening.
You could. And if you didn't want to get all the emails for what was going on in my classroom, you could go into those settings and turn it off. Note at the bottom here, it says teachers that you add can do everything you can except delete the class. So if I add a co-teacher, they can assign work, they can grade work, they can include students or exclude students. So it's good to be careful about who you invite. but it can be a really powerful tool to have colleagues co-teaching with you in this kind of
Catherine, my mind right now is a little like amazed at the opportunities that what could happen, and how, as I'm thinking about setting up classes, what I used to set up classes, like now I have so much flexibility on, like when you said co-teachers, and I was thinking like learning walks, but then you were saying add assignments or grade assignments or make comments and all of these things. This gives a lot of flexibility of what our classrooms could look like. And so I'm going to call it out again. We're going to call it out in the next few days, is that whatever you're designing to do, remember now is the chance to reimagine what things could be like. And remember, there should be some things at the heartbeat. What's best for kids? Are you thinking about the universal design for learning? Are you thinking about social emotional learning issues and needs? Are you thinking about culturally responsive teaching practices? Are you thinking about equity at the heart of it? So as you're designing your courses, remember, it doesn't translate one-to-one from the classroom to the digital environment, because we don't have all of the same things. We have different things, but we're still teachers and we have learners, and we want to do what's best for our learners and what's best for our community.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I keep thinking about, and that we've all been thinking about as we work out how to support teachers in this really fun time of life that we're all going through, is the idea of being able to pivot back and forth between in-person and remote learning, which we may or may not be doing that a number of times, depending on where you teach. You may be in a hybrid situation where you're doing both. But when you think about these tools, really think about how they would be used in all of those settings, not just when students are home, because this can create a consistency of organization that can be really beneficial for your students and your parents, because your parents are going to be wanting to know what their students are working on as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Catherine, for calling that out, because many of us are going to be in a blended type of situation, maybe remote, maybe in person. But if we have one structure and one framework to start with, where students know and we know where to go and all of the stuff's going to be, then being in person is going to be all the more rich. And then being apart in distance, we'll still be able to function and be able to do things.
Absolutely. And you know, something to keep in mind too, I think, is to always remember that the students are going to be more flexible than you are in general by their nature. There are students for whom that's not true, but overall, if you're stressing because you have to learn a new system, which everybody gets to that point, your students are probably going to pick it up and be like, oh yeah, I got it, and just kind of flow with it. The vast majority of your students will pick it up pretty quickly. So that you can kind of take comfort in that. There are always exceptions, but for the most part, having that thread of consistency, your students will be able to flex and use these tools in both situations pretty well, in my experience. So our last tab that we haven't really checked out here is the grades tab. Excuse me. And because I haven't done any assignments yet, I don't see anything here, but this would be where my grade book would be. And this is how we talked about this is the paper grade book. This is my kind of personal record of what is going on with students. And we will go in more to how this works on day 3 as well. So that's your basic tour of how Google Classroom looks and how Google Classroom is navigated. I've kind of shown you where the menus are, where the settings are, and the tabs across the top. So this is the basic organization of what Google Classroom looks like. Over the next couple of days, we are going to get in more depth about what each of these how each of these tools works. Whoops, sorry. Had a problem with my screen share there. Let me start it up again. There we go. So before we talk about this reflection, were there any questions in the Q&A, my lovely colleagues, that we need to?
Yeah, Catherine, I saw one that came through that was reposted. Thanks, Christina, for doing that. The question is there a way to see notifications on the computer version like there are on the phone version? On the phone, in the main menu, you can see all these notifications. And the question says, it helped me to know when students had responded to questions or asked questions. So on the computer version, am I going to get notifications like on that home screen or wherever the stream? How does that work, Catherine?
I believe you can set up, it'll notify you if you're in classroom, a little pop-up, but it won't do a push notification like it will do in mobile. And by the way, I did not mention, and I should mention, that this is also available on iPhone, Android, or tablets. You can access it from anywhere, although to run a classroom, you're really going to want to be doing it on a computer. Does anyone know if you can start a push notification? I don't think there's a setting for that in there. Go look at my,
I haven't seen that personally.
I don't think so. Let me check it out.
One quick comment, Catherine, since you mentioned it, the app is really fun to play with, and students, even like yesterday in one of my classes, we were doing some quick sketches, and we were doing a live call like you and I are right now, and the students were grabbing pictures with their phone and posting them to their assignment, because you can do that pretty quickly because it's integrated into their devices there. So it is one of those nice things, and the Google Classroom does have a really great app for students to be able to use, so they can look at all their assignments, they can do their work, they can upload pictures, etc.
Yes, and if you're a district that uses iPads, there are some specific things to know about the iOS version of Classroom that are just a little bit different. We're not really going to get into that in this session, but that might be something we talk about in the 201s. I'm looking at the settings again, just to be sure I can clearly answer the question. And I think all of my notifications here are just email. Do I want email or do I not want email? What I do know is that if I'm in classroom and I'm actually here, like say I'm in this classroom and somebody posts something on the stream, it'll pop up a little thing at the bottom that says stream has been updated, so that I know. Otherwise, it just kind of updates and you're on your own to check it. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, it's not quite the same push notification, which is on the top of my screen on my phone, but there will be notifications within your stream that something has happened. And you can have it set up so that you get email notifications when students are making comments or submitting an assignment, etc. You can get all of that from your email, which could be a notification setting that you're using on your computer, or you can wait and get into your classroom so it doesn't feel like everybody's raising their hands and asking for attention right now.
Yeah. Other questions?
Catherine, I'm seeing some questions in the Q&A around archiving courses.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how you would archive a course?
Sure. And once we have some classes in tomorrow, as we show you how to add more classes and add assignments, this stuff will make more sense. But right now I'm popped back into another account where I have some classes created. If I go to my home area here, and I have a class that I don't need, so I have a lot of classes that say test class here. Maybe I don't need them all. I can click my 3 dots and I can archive. So I need to be in my home base. I look at the card for the class and I archive it. And then it lets me know what I'm doing. It says you can't add stuff to the class unless you pull it back out of the garbage can or the file cabinet and put it into the main rotation again. And it tells you that it's moving to your this class to your archived classes, so then I could access it from that menu, and that all the files related to this will be in Google Drive. And we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow. Because this is a Google product, the files associated with assignments, the worksheets that I attach, or the work that students add, the rubrics, all of that are going to be stored in my Google Drive in a particular way. And we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. So here are some archived classes. And if I want it back, I can click on the 3 dots again and restore it. I can see this, I've got a little visual cue that it's an archived class because it's got those diagonal lines. But I can restore them from here. Any other questions?
Also seeing a question about the person tab. So maybe we could just review what the person tab does really quickly.
Sure. So here I am in a test class, and I'm going to hit people. It's going to show me who my teachers and students are. When I'm a student viewing this, I believe it's called classmates. I don't know if it says people, but it just shows me my fellow students, just like I would see this roster. So I don't have any students in here, but if I did, there would be a list.
Catherine, I just checked on our class because you know I am your favorite student in that class. I'm also your worst student currently.
Mm-hmm.
But when I clicked on people, it shows teachers. So I can see all of the teachers who are there so that I could reach out to them. There's no other classmates right now, so I can't see anybody. But I know this, I can see my teachers as a student for sure.
Yeah, and I think tomorrow we'll be able to get a little bit more into that idea of what students see, which is, it can be tricky, and it's very, very important that we know what students see so that we can be clear in our instructions. And that's even more important with remote learning. So that is something that we will cover in more depth tomorrow.
And I
Catherine,
did.
I'm also seeing a question about the to-do feature.
Mm-hmm. Oh, over here. So this is, in this instance, you can see that I am teaching some classes, and I'm also enrolled as a student in some classes. So this class is one that I'm a student. If I hit to do, excuse me, it's going to show me the assignments that I have not done. And clearly I am extremely naughty and I have done no work. If I have, well, I've done some things, I guess. So this was a demo class that I made for a district, and that's why there are some things turned in. It shows me that as a student, I turned this in and I did it late. To do are things that I haven't done yet. Now, similarly with teaching, it'll give me a to review. So this is the giant pile of ungraded work that I always had in my inbox. That's how that relates to my life back before we used Google Classroom. It's going to say, you gave this assignment. Here's how many people have turned it in. Here's how many were assigned. So it'll give me that kind of heads up display of, I assigned this to the whole class and 5 people turned it in. Maybe I need to take some action. I can go in and actually grade that and work through that, and I can also just mark it as reviewed and go, yeah, I looked at those. Because sometimes, again, remembering that we're working in more than one environment, sometimes an assignment I give will not have a digital component. Maybe my assignment is talk to your parents about something. Maybe my assignment is build a paper airplane. Maybe they're not even attaching a picture. Maybe there's nothing to turn in. And so I'm just going to go, yep, I saw all of these. I talked to my students. I have reviewed it and it's off my list. So I hope that answers that question.
And Catherine, we have 2 more days where we're going to dive into some more of the nuts and bolts of how this all works out.
Absolutely.
And tonight, we're inviting our participants, everybody, to go play with this as much as they can.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to try to play a little bit more tonight. Maybe I'll get some more classmates, Catherine, and I can work on some collaborative work, or maybe I can just work on my own classroom to build tonight. So we have this bit.ly that's up here. Maybe you could take your phone, you could hover it up there if you want to use that QR code, or you could use that bit.ly that's in the chat window, I noticed, for our LMS 101 Day 1 reflection. We would encourage you and invite you to take a moment right now and think about, where is my learning? Where's my headspace as a human being right now as I'm thinking about Google? We would like you to do that to help you consolidate some of your thinking, and also to give some feedback to us as we're thinking about tomorrow and preparing for tomorrow. What are the things that we might really amplify tomorrow, or provide for tools or questions that we can bring to the table as we're preparing for tomorrow? So we would invite you to take a moment and reflect on the learning from today.
I wanted to address a couple questions in the Q&A as well. Attendance is being taken from the Zoom report. Don't panic, everybody. You're getting credit for it. We know there was an error. We apologize. You are all getting credit for today. We will also provide a recording as soon as it's ready, and that will be sent to you in email.
Thank you. So if you have a chance to, like Jeff said, if you have a chance to do this reflection, that will be really useful to us. We realize this is just biting off a little tiny chunk, and you all have some great questions and you need to know a lot of stuff. And I know that it's, you're eager to get there, but because we have such a short period of time, we're just going to get you in. We want you to start exploring, and that's what we're hoping you will spend some time doing tonight. Get into your Google Classroom, log in, access it, see if you can create a classroom, see if you can invite someone else. You can add a teacher, you can add, another teacher can join your class as a student, which is one of the ways you can understand how things are looking to students when you post them. And then we will be back here, same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow morning to continue. Is there anything else that we need to address in the Q&A? I'm trying to follow it, but it's kind of hard to talk and read that at the same time.
For those of you who were not able to type in the bit.ly from the chat window, we can send out an email with the bit.ly for you to access it when the course is finished.
Catherine, I'm looking at my Explore list tonight that we're inviting our participants to try, accessing Google Classroom. And if I remember the first time I go there, I have that choice between being student and teacher. I know which one I'm going to pick. And then I'm going to try to create a classroom. Catherine, is it okay to just like create a fun classroom, like for my whatever crew of gardeners, or I'm thinking about whatever it is? I could just make a fake one. There's no like space limit on that. I'm not going to break anything. I could just create a whatever.
It should be no problem. You can always archive it after you're done messing around with it. We encourage people to play in that way because that's how you learn. And you can see I have a whole bunch of classes.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got a lot of test classrooms.
Yeah, I haven't run out of room yet, and I'm testing different things in each of these. Some of them have students, some of them don't, So
what you're really saying is you're inviting us to go play and explore Google Classroom tonight.
Absolutely.
All right. And then tomorrow and then the next day, that'll help us because our brains will be a little bit more ready to think about those things, and we'll be able to ask more questions. I like it.
Yep, I hope so. All right.
So in the Q&A, people would like just a rundown of what they can expect for the next 2 days.
Yeah, we can go back here.
And just as a note, as she's getting there, the Zoom link is the exact same for the next 2 days, including the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you should be able to get in the same way. So they're kind of grayed out here, but you can see that part 2, which is what we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to talk about selecting and managing materials. And so that means that we will be in a classroom adding classwork, creating assignments. We'll talk about all these different types of assignments. We'll talk about how to manage that. There's a lot to cover tomorrow for that. So
that feels like setting up the classroom, like where I'm going to put things in my classroom, although it's a virtual classroom, and how to organize it and where things go. Like all of those, I would put a poster in my room there, and I would have the how-to over here, and my turn-in things here. So all of that kind of stuff is tomorrow, Catherine. Am I hearing that right?
That's correct. All right. So I think we are ready to wrap up for today. It's 9:59, and I know that we need to honor everybody's time. So Andrew, you do the honors. I'm not sure what your next step is for the webinar here, but we will see you all tomorrow at the same time with the same Zoom link.
Thank you so much for joining, and remember, go play and explore.
Please do. Thank you so much.